The show has started. Yes, so I shared that. So I titled this live show "The End is Near," um, um, because I think that markets don't have many more legs left. Maybe 1 year, 2 years, but it is already high risk to invest currently in the markets, and then I mean stocks and cryptos. I do not mean commodities, with the exception of gold, because gold rallied a lot. But commodities in general, not. And stocks, of course, you do have a difference between S&P 500. Of course, I'm talking about it, but not about certain emerging markets and certain value stocks. They can indeed be still cheap, and even when the total market corrects strong, and the S&P 500 and cryptos correct strong, these can still do okay, meaning they will correct less and they will recover quickly, and the damage will be little. But S&P 500 is clearly at current valuation. If you look at the price to earnings ratio, the Schiller PE ratio is at all-time highs, except for a couple of years when into 1999, 1998, 2000, then it went higher, but that's the only time. So there's a very high risk to invest in S&P 500 and also cryptos. So that's why I really try to build cash, but my exposure to cash is relatively low given where we are in the cycle. I have still 70% exposure to mainly cryptos as well as growth stocks, Tesla, and also micro caps, and that's a very high exposure. But I do have also 25% cash and 5% commodities. And that's not gold, that's just a copper stock. But I do have a decent cash exposure. Like, you will not, it's very rare for me to have such a large cash exposure. But at the same time, I am increasing risk within my crypto portfolio. I've been selling Ethereum and BCH for smaller projects, privacy coins, and that's of course higher risk, because if crypto corrects, of course you'll be better off staying in the big coins than being in the smaller ones. But yeah, that's how I play it. Like, on the one hand you want to build security, but on the other hand, if you want to really take advantage of the last leg of a cycle, typically the lowest quality assets in cryptos, in stocks, will go up the most. When you enter exuberance, then everything is bid up in price. But the crap even more than the quality, because the quality is the one that go up first, and that's already gone up today in crypto, as well as in stocks. But yeah, I would say we're also at a level where even the average quality, and when it comes to S&P 500, you could say like the 493 remaining stocks is actually valued high. They have a high PE ratio. I thought that was an interesting analysis, that actually it's not the Magnificent 7 that has a high PE ratio. That's relatively low compared to previous bubbles. For example, Nvidia, what is it, 30, 40? That's not 100, 200 that you typically see at the end of a bubble. Like, most of these stocks are quite, the PE is not that high, but when you look at the rest of the S&P 500, the PE is much higher than average. and that's what causes the average of the S&P 500 to be high. The Schiller to be at 30, I believe. So yeah, I think it's very important to build safety in your portfolio, and but at the same time, where you take risk, yeah, you can actually take more risk than you typically do. So what I do is I will sell some risk assets such as Ethereum or BCH or Tesla, and a piece goes to cash and the other piece goes to actually higher risk investments. In my case, that's done mainly privacy coins. Last year I started investing in Zano, and this year I was lucky to be on time to invest in Zcash before it pumped. But I've also recently invested in other smaller coins. You have Firo, you have Secret, you have Dash. I've also invested in that. So really expanded my portfolio of cryptocurrencies with a focus on privacy coins. That has also panned out well until now, because it's quite shocking how little they corrected during the recent sell-off a couple days ago. And yeah, if you see such strength, that's actually a good foreboding on the remainder of the rally. Stocks that stand relatively strong during corrections typically pump more also after, when the market picks up again. But that's not why I invest in privacy coins. I invest in privacy coins just from a fundamental analysis perspective, that I think cryptocurrency, the USP of cryptocurrency is to do private transactions online. You cannot do that with credit cards or with bank transfers, and that's really what crypto offers. But if you use traditional cryptocurrency like BCH or Ethereum or BTC, yeah, you don't have privacy, standard privacy. You would have to add extra tools to create some privacy, and people don't do that, and so they end up using cryptocurrency in a very public manner, and that will cause problems later, because of course tax authorities will tax cryptocurrencies more and more. And the problem with these things also is when you leave traces of payments, and this is actually all evidence that can and will be used against you by bad actors. And blockchain analysis is really is a bit at the start of where DNA analysis was in 1970, 1980. When people started using DNA analysis, a lot of mistakes were made, because it was a new technology and it was recognized as very hard evidence, but at the same time many mistakes were made, and so many people end up in jail unjustly due to mistakes made in DNA analysis. And the same is happening today with blockchain analysis. People are ending up in jail because they are framed. The blockchain analysis is used to show evidence in court against them, but it's not. If you dig deeper into it, it's actually not strong evidence, even though it is blockchain analysis. It's not strong evidence, it's circumstantial, and but it's not seen as such. And so yeah, that's important, that you don't that you try to avoid to such kind of things. So yeah, welcome to the live show, guys. If you have any questions, shoot them. Let me take a look if there are any questions here already. Hi, I'm Monero XMR. Long time no see, he says. Hi, Mark. How are you and how's your family? Very well. My family also. Everybody's healthy. Of course, I have some problems with the ladies from time to time, but I have also very good times with the ladies. Keep on making babies and expanding my family. So I'm a very fortunate man, and I hope it can stay that way. Let me see. Hi, Mr. Guilty Fool, Nathan 718. What crypto you're holding now, Mark? Well, I shared that on X, the Holy Grail portfolio that I've launched. It's just a follow-up from what I did before. Um, but it has clear goals now. The Holy Grail portfolio, the goal is to have returns no matter the economic climate. And so try to invest in different non-correlated great investments. I believe that's how you can combine high potential reward with also building security and safety. And so usually people will build security and safety in their portfolio by by investing in boring assets that also have a low expected return, such as real estate or bonds. And actually gold used to be one of those assets too. It's just cash. But the problem with these things is that the average return is close to zero after inflation, and so you basically parking your money in such a way that you will just preserve it. It won't grow, and that's the sacrifice you make to create security. And then still you have to do it in a smart way, because that's certainly not always the case. Sometimes real estate causes lots of losses, sometimes causes lots of profits. But if you time that wrong, you can sit on big losses for 5 years, and it can take 10 years before you make your money back. Same with bonds. So same with index funds. People look at it as a safe way to invest, but that's not really the case. So how I try to build safety in my portfolios, if you do invest in different great investments, but they are not correlated, then the chance that they all fail or all do not pan out yet, or all, well, that's not so high. It's low. If you have really uncorrelated different investments, and some will pan out, others not, and so on average you'll make money, and you have a return higher than real inflation on average. So that's the idea of my portfolio and of the Holy Grail portfolio. And so yeah, make sure to follow me on X. I start to give more updates of what I do with this portfolio, but you can see a breakdown of it often, what kind of cryptos currently are in it, and what kind of other investments are in it. There are hedge funds, several hedge funds, but also a cash position now. It's in an iShares fund, that's also interesting. Investing in T-bills right now, I think. So yeah, have a look at it. Reg Dortnark, he says, I did good with a bag of Pivix. I remember Pivix. I used to invest in that too. He says, you always have great insights. Thanks so much, man. Monerik Samer, what is your advice on controlling greed? I find it very hard to sell during the peak. I hold on to my crypto so tightly and won't let go until it's too late. Yeah, that's a very big problem. I also suffer from that. Every investor suffers from that. Almost every investor. And the same the other way around. Fear is also really a problem. When really markets are crashing, it's extremely hard to buy. But when markets are pumping, actually that's easier for me. But when markets are pumping and going euphoric, it's very hard to sell. And the way that works is that when the market in the beginning starts to pump, typically you're quick to sell some because you've seen hard times, you want to lock in some profits, you want to break even. And so you end up selling more than you should. And then later the market continues to go up and you start to regret those sales. And so that's how you get into a mental state where you don't want to sell because you regret selling before. And you're making money by just being lazy and not doing anything. And you're being rewarded constantly. And so that's incentivized to do more of the same. And you then decide, okay, I should sell something. And you sell something, but it's way too little. And your exposure ends up being bigger and bigger and bigger. And maybe it started with 10% or it started with 50%, and now it's 90% or 70%. But the market has gone up already a lot, and actually it's not a rational decision to have such a large allocation. You would have never done that if you would have to pay cash for that exposure. You would have never decided to have such a large exposure when the market is clearly already fairly valued, and if you're honest with yourself, is already overvalued. So, but how can you fight that? The way to do that is by trying to look at objective indicators. Like that's really, I think, the solution. Like you need to have a list of indicators to look at that show you when a market is expensive and when a market is cheap through time, and that goes through an indicator that of course goes back years and can be studied throughout the cycles, throughout bull and bear markets, and this kind of information is something that can help a lot in getting a more clear mind on like where are you in the cycle and how much exposure should you have. This is what helps me a lot. But there are other ways to do that. You can also invest like a contrarian, and so really take your lead from the market sentiment. And when you notice that people are so positive, and you have typical indicators like, people that know that you invest in something, you don't hear from them except when the market is bubbling and peaking. Then they will, typically the common man will only invest in something when the hype is high. And so they will, typically the people that you haven't heard from for years, but they know you invest in, for example, crypto, and they contact you and they start asking questions about investing in crypto. That's another indicator that the market is high. Or you have news articles, it comes in the media, they talk about it. That's another indicator that the sentiment is positive and likely. That's then also priced in. So these are ways to look also at. I make a more rational judgment and more objective judgment on where you are and if you should hold it or sell it. Nathan 718, hi, are you going to come back on Noise Cash and Read Cash? That's since you left. No, that's indeed failed project, sadly. Read Cash is still online, but I don't think it will succeed in the long term. Noise Cash was taken offline. Noise Cash, what we discovered there is that when I was investing a lot in Bitcoin Cash, I was trying to also invest in projects that would increase the adoption of Bitcoin Cash. And Noise Cash was the biggest project and the most expensive one. What we noticed is that actually without subsidies the website was not growing. Without me pumping in money, the website was not growing, and so people were using the website to post and get tipped in Bitcoin Cash, but it was a net negative. They would take out more from the website than they put in, and if the flow of cash, of the flow of BCH stops flowing, they are gone. And so it was not sustainable, sadly. We thought that tipping with crypto was a great use case, and that's missing indeed on X, for example, or Facebook, but that didn't prove to be right. Read Cash, you can post articles, it's still online. You can also tip there with BCH in a very easy way. But it's just not something. These are the kind of concepts that at the start of the internet you could have launched this and it might have become something big, but now there are way too many places where you can do that, and way too much competition, and the tipping is not really adding enough value for a website to really grow organically from that. Harvey Williams, hey, how are you? Harvey is asking me, is there anything that excites you about the markets anymore? Yes, I think the market is always a challenge and very interesting, and yeah, I'm very happy to be an investor. I find it fascinating. The AI bubble right now is very interesting to read about. Um, I don't have any chips there, but except for Tesla maybe. But yeah, everything is affected by it. So I think it's very fascinating. Um, yes. Do you think we will get another generational opportunity like Bitcoin again within the next 5 years? Um, I think that such opportunities, um, they are there every 5 to 10 years for the private individual investor. Huh? Um, but they are there more, a lot more, of course. If you really would analyze the market, every year you can point to investments that were a big success for some people that enters at the right time. Huh? But yeah, I'm also looking for the next opportunity, and currently a next new opportunity. I really think AI really has impressed very much. These language models using ChatGPT or Grok from X, or you have several others. It's so impressive. Like, that's really impressive. But how can you invest in that? How can you benefit from that? I do think it's comparable to the internet revolution. If I look at like many people, if you don't know what to do with your life, you're young, you want to make money, yeah, you these days you have to really dive into AI tools. Many companies are looking for help on how they can automate, for example, their help desk using AI tools. And if you can just learn very quickly in a couple of months a lot about these things, and go to just random companies and sell them a service that you will implement an AI service, and they will buy it from you. It is very similar from at the time when the internet exploded. You can just go to any company and offer to buy them to build them a website. And so these are the early days, and I think that there will be lots of opportunities there. But when it comes to valuations, the question is, when will this AI bubble peak and collapse? And there, it looks like we're already 1998, and there's only a few more years left at best. 1 or 2 years before the whole thing will crash and come down. But in the meantime, it can still go up a lot. So I've not found an opportunity in AI, but I think that a company like Tesla has really also great results that are not valued, like automated driving, cars that drive by themselves. Tesla has really made, I mean, they really did it, I think. They're almost there. And yeah, it's not priced into the stock, I think, even though the stock is already valued very high. But yeah, they continue to really be on the leading edge of things. And yeah, I think Tesla can do another 10x, even though it's already worth $1 trillion. I know that's a long shot to say. And of course, there are probably a lot better investments than that. Like, it's much better to invest in small companies that have a great story and have proof of concept, and have a fast expanding revenues, or a product that's really hitting the market. Like, of course you can make a lot more money there, but yeah, I don't have anything for you. What I'm playing myself in crypto is also a long shot. I have long invested in Bitcoin Cash in the hope that would take over Bitcoin, and that really did not pan out. Now I'm betting on privacy coins. It is possible, and that does become a lot more important in the cryptocurrency world, but it could also totally fail, this narrative and story. It's really great investments are typically not widely recognized. Of course, they are controversial. People don't believe in it, and that's why there is an opportunity. And yeah, that is present. For privacy coins, I think you can say like many people don't believe in that. Even many people from the crypto world, they don't believe in that. But it is something that makes a lot of sense, and could indeed catch on over the next few years. And with users, but investors usually need to be ahead. Like it's first really the investors that catch on and pump the price before the users enter. But of course, I would agree that the opportunity is a lot smaller than the start of cryptocurrencies at the time with Bitcoin. Yeah, indeed, Harvey Williams, Roger Vera, great news for him that he seemed to have gotten an agreement with the IRS. I mean, he's allowed to pay the 48 million. That's what it comes down to, because before he was not even allowed to pay that. They say you have to pay. You dodged 48 million in taxes, and you're gonna have to go. And we want you to go to prison for 105 years. That was what. And we want you extradited, arrested and extradited to the United States. So it's a big step forward. And now, but I don't think it's official yet. It was just a news article. I don't think it's been submitted to court yet. But that it looks like they will submit to court that okay, if he pays the 48 million, we will drop the charges. So that would be very good for him. Of course, I hope he can afford it. I hope he puts some money on the side to pay that. But yeah, it's really great news actually, because yeah, I think that a lot of the prosecution was also because of hatred towards him. Certain people within the administration also, because of all the things, the negative things he has said about governments, and of course also hatred towards him in the Bitcoin community, that instead of helping him out in the administration, basically threw him in front of the train. And yeah, I don't think that's deserved at all. I think that's really absurd that they blame things on him. I mean, that he spoke up against Bitcoin not scaling on chain, and that they hate him so much for it. It's unbelievable. There's lots of hate in the Bitcoin maximalist community. But yeah, I think that it's my hope that this community will die together with the coin, Bitcoin, over time. But that also has not happened at all. The market dominance of Bitcoin is still very high, but you do see big cracks there, and it looks like altcoins or Bitcoin dominance will go down a lot again, and altcoin market share will go up a lot. But still, what gives me confidence to be invested 45% into cryptocurrencies, and these are just altcoins, is that altcoins is still seriously undervalued according to the Trololo logarithmic trend line growth line, and that gives me lots of confidence that this is not a bad investment. But of course, and it also checks out with where we are with the overall market as S&P 500. Okay, it's highly overvalued, it's high risk territory, but typically that's the case at the end of the cycle, and it's also at the end of the cycle that altcoins pump a lot. So I think that 1 to 2 years is the most likely, and of course I hope for that too, because I'm invested as such, that these things will pump a lot, and that there will be still a good chance to lock in profits from these investments before they collapse in price. Great questions, Harvey Williams. He's asking, how has your view on Europe changed over the past 5 years? Yeah, it did change. Actually, compared to 20 years ago, I thought that immigration was good, and even 10 years ago, and I've talked about this on my YouTube channel also, that I think immigration is good overall. And a lot of that opinion also comes from Julian Simon, a hero I've been following, who has talked a lot about that. He has died, but his opinion is that immigrants in general are ambitious people, and that they contribute to the economy more than the existing population, and over time they do integrate, and the country is better off with them. There I've changed my mind in that if you allow mass immigration without integration, and you give them voting power, and they end up voting their own politicians, and bringing their own culture and allowing to establish their own culture, then you do get certain things that's not good. For example, in England, there the gang rapes that have happened by Pakistani, and that then have been covered up because they are a big electorate, and you see the same in Brussels, where you have lots of Moroccans and Islam voters, and then you have terrorists living among them, and they are being actually not even reported. For example, there's the story of the mayor of Molenbeek that in Brussels that got reported there's a big terrorist there in her community, and she didn't even report it to the police. And she says, even today, she says, yeah, that was not her job. And she's very popular with the Muslim voters. That's unbelievable. It's a real problem when you have a democracy and you allow too many immigrants, and then they just change the culture, change the country, and that's just going to lead to civil war, because that's not acceptable for the local population. So I think that's where it has headed. In Western Europe, they've gone way too far to the left side, and that really needs to be reversed. And now there are also signs that's starting, and that people really realize that should stop now, and you get big protests, and right-wing politicians are voted into office a lot more. So I think that's good. Also, the energy policy is just a total disaster. Europe really fucked up so badly. Germany destroyed its industrial base, 20% less industry today than 10 years ago, a total disaster. So they really mismanaged the country by shutting down nuclear reactors and not having cheap fossil fuels anymore from Russia. They also allowed themselves to be totally outplayed by the United States by allowing them to just destroy their gas pipelines that came from Russia, probably destroyed by either the US or Ukraine, and that way I'm doing a live show, and that way lost their cheap energy. Cheap fossil fuels also caused the collapse of their industry, and they don't have anything to show for it. They don't have the nuclear reactors anymore, and they just have some windmills and sun panels. That's just totally unbelievable. So I think that Europe really needs to get its act together, especially Western Europe, and that the shift is going to Eastern Europe. They have managed things a lot better. Countries like Hungary and Poland, they are nationalistic and proud of themselves. They don't allow massive immigration. They don't do bad energy policies, and they don't destroy their energy infrastructure, and they will likely do a lot better in the future. And Western Europe will be the new Eastern Europe, and socialism will continue to destroy Western Europe, just like it did in Eastern Europe 50 years ago, 100 years ago. But now it's just the other part. So the luck of Europe is that it does have Eastern Europe. It really needs to reinvent itself, because the divide also between the United States is becoming astronomical. The wealth divide, like Europe is not, Western Europe, you cannot say anymore that they are amongst the top developed countries. That's not the case anymore, actually. America is, and Dubai is, where I'm now, the United Arab Emirates, they are, and Singapore is, and a bunch of countries that you can say they are on the top, and certain pockets in Europe are, such as Luxembourg or some single countries, but as a whole, no. So yeah, it's sad to see. Typically, what people need is a real crisis before they change their mind and before they vote different. And it's the same in Canada and Australia. It's also real socialist night hellholes. And the same is happening in Northern Europe, in the Netherlands and Sweden and Norway. And when will that change? That's not clear to me. In Germany, you do see really people voting more for the right. That's starting, and that gives me hope. But yeah, I think we need more signs. What's happening in England now, that does give me hope with William Robinson there movement. Big protests in London with lots of nationalistic flags is what gives me hope that the country may indeed shift to the right and start controlling the damage they've done in reverse policies. It does give me hope. That's actually something new. Like 2 years ago, it just looked totally bleak for the United Kingdom. Now there is more hope, I think. But yeah, it's not a done deal. Hi, the noob. Thanks so much for the compliment. He's following since 2017. He loves my original thinking. Andrew Mina, just tell us what's going on by last week at the market. Yeah, I think everybody knows that. It's just a flash crash. It happens sometimes. But it could be the start of a bear market also. But I've explained at the start of this live show what's my view on that. Harvey Williams, where would be the best place to live if you wanted to have a family over the next 10 years? I think certain areas of the United States are very good places to live, and also some the white states where you have where it's allowed to own guns. Typically these are in the middle of the US, but probably Texas also is part of that, and Florida also. But of course you do have ghettos in Florida, so you have to avoid those. Depends. There's a very big difference, I believe, between Miami and Orlando. So it's really certain pockets in the US, and there are some pockets in Europe also. I live in Switzerland. They're still quite okay. They don't have as much immigration, or at least not visible. They have taxes. They have interesting taxes for foreigners. You can save on taxes. It's not socialist tax system where you have to give away half of your money and half of your capital gains and all that. That's way too much. But that is the case in the US. In the US, you do need have very advanced systems to protect your wealth, because taxes are high there. I think offshore there are many opportunities. You have Costa Rica. If you're a US citizen, you can actually not pay capital gains if you move to there. H. Cuppy, Aris Kupperman lives there from a fund I'm invested in. That makes a lot of sense, I think. But of course, you're living on a Caribbean island, and with a family, that's a problem. That's why I chose for Switzerland, because I do have a family. I want to live close to the city. I want to have access to schools and all that. And so Caribbean islands that was not for me, but some people really are very happy there, like Roger Ver, for example, very happy in St. Kitts, and yeah. But typically it depends what's your net worth also, because you're not gonna really choose one place. Typically you'll live in at least two places when you have a high net worth. At the time there used to be people had a holiday home, so they end up also being a lot in their holiday home. But these days is that they also have a location in another country, in another jurisdiction, where they also are often. And so, yeah, many people do choose Dubai. It is very family friendly. It's just way too warm in the summer, but in the people come typically 6 months to Dubai in the winter, and it's very good for families and very good for taxes. And I'm so impressed what they've built. It's also very interesting from an immigration perspective how things can be done and what Europe can learn from them. They have actually also very high immigration level of 80% of people are immigrants that live in Dubai. So the big majority, but they don't have voting rights, and they don't get citizenship. They only get temporary residences, not permanent ones even. Even if you have a golden visa and you pay tons of money, you only have a 10-year residence, and after that you're gonna have to do a new trick to get a new residence. So but that's very wisely done from him. They get a lots of money coming into the country from people that want to live there, but they preserve their country, they keep their country, they don't lose their country to other cultures, and they set the rules, they remain the boss. But it also has disadvantages. For example, Emiratis are a higher, it's like a cost system. Emiratis are the top. You as a tourist or a resident, immigrant resident, are below them. And so if you have a car accident with an Emirati, you better behave, because yes, he's going to blame it on you, and you better accept that it was your fault, because you don't want trouble at the police station, and they're not going to believe you over an Emirati. So that's how it goes. But I bet many people would prefer such an immigration system and in their country over what is offered in Europe. Of course, Europe, everybody wants to go to Europe. Why? Because you not only do you become a resident, you become a citizen. After 5 to 10 years, you can become a citizen, and you now suddenly have the right to live there, and not the privilege, but the right. You have the right to all kind of, even before you're a citizen, the moment you're a resident, even when you're illegal, you get already the right to social services. That's certainly not the case in Dubai. And you can basically really move your family permanently, and you can marry people from your country of origin and bring them over into Europe. That's what they all do then, the immigrants, the Moroccans, the Turks. Instead of marrying something from where they were brought up in Belgium or the Netherlands or France, they marry someone from another country, from Morocco or Turkey, and then bring them in. That's how that goes. So of course, the immigrants get too much probably in Europe. It's too attractive, and they have to give too little. And so that's why it's going wrong there. And UAE understands much better how you need to do that. So it's very interesting to see all that. So where would you live? Advice to live? I would say Switzerland, if you can get a lump sum taxation deal, but that only starts when you have a net worth of I think, yeah, you want to pay 200,000 per year to 400,000 per year, so you need a net worth of at least 10 times more to make that really worthwhile. So I would say 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, you need a net worth before you could consider that. But you could also, if you're just living in Europe, in the Schengen zone, you have a right to just move to Switzerland and you just pay the local taxes. And some cantons have low taxes, like Canton of Zug has a 30% tax rate. I mean, it's not low, but it's low compared to many European countries where you have easily 50%. So and capital gains, I don't know if they have that or not. I would have to look that up. So yeah, what other options are there are? Yeah, I hope that answers your questions a bit. Andrew Mina, it's better to invest on major coins like BTC Ethereum if you are a small investor. No, that's not a good idea. Especially not where we are in the cycle today. The major coins have pumped already, or already at fair value. BTC, Ethereum are fairly valued. They're not overvalued, but also not undervalued anymore. You want to invest in things that are undervalued, and also where it's likely that they will pump, that they will go up, and you can look at the charts for that. If it already went up a lot on the chart, yeah, you missed out. You need to look at charts where actually they come from a lot higher, they're down for a long time, and maybe they pumped a little, but they can pump a lot more. That's the kind of charts you need to look for, and you can still find that in alts. And look at my portfolio for some examples. So yeah, that was it, guys. I'm gonna end the live show. Thanks all for joining, and I wish you all a great day.